Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to the 11th Psalm of the Gospel of the Oval Ball, courtesy of PQ, the Evertonian, always inspirational Viking that there is of legendary rugby league status. And we are going to take you on a journey of epic proportions today, as we've got so much to talk about. Beginning with, of course, the weekend's massive welcome of the World Club Champs to Plough Lane and the Cherry Red Records Stadium, and my first appearance to try and uplift the boys in a mouthwater of a matchup that would see, as I've previously said, the World Club Champs taking on the Bass in an absolute barnstorm of a matchup. Given no hope, no chance, we would end up scoring 4 tries against the champions of the world, which means we're just as good as Penrith. Oh yeah. We're also going to talk about the weekend's results on the Super-League fixtures, a few of the Challenge Cup rounds, plus the 6-round draw that occurred as well, that pits London in that draw. Unfortunately, Hammersmith didn't make it this time, but we're also going to be talking about the amateur game and the build-up to said season that is up and coming this summer. So without further ado, plus with the new hairdo as well, we're going to start off and take you on a journey to pre-game London Broncos as the day would begin from E4. We were going from northeast London to southwest London. Would see two nations meet. The legends that are the Ockwells and the Evertonian always inspirational that is I, of course. Now, for them, they had a journey of 225 miles in a 5-hour window of opportunity, of which, by all accounts, they made the first 216 miles in 4.5 hours and the last 8 miles in 55 minutes. But there you go, that's London traffic for you. However, that said, it would take me a good 95 minutes to get from one side of London to the other, and the journey of which I speak, our departure would see a short walk to the inevitable bus stop that would lead to the Victoria line on a journey that would change over to the Piccadilly line that would eventually see us arise at the Court of Earls, from whence we pick up the District line that takes us past places like Fulham Broadway, the home of the Blues, the Chelsea FC, all the way south of the river. Wimbledon Park would be our destination. The Woodman Pub would be our felicitation of food that would see us delve deep into minus mixed grill because there was no Witherspoons close by. The Woodman, however, would step into the breach and save my bacon, which would be included in the quarter-pounder burger that was a mouthwatering salvation, alongside Yorkshire tea. A legend of Wigan Rugby League would saunter on into the pub. Only one Chris Radlinski, everyone else looking around. PQ knew who this legend was. One of the greatest ever players to lace up outside of potentially Andy Farrell. Delivered so many titles for the Warriors over the years. Although I don't do my usual, I'm going to fly over the top, do a super willow and knock the fella out. As he strolled in, he had his entire family with him, and there was no way, so it was just an acknowledgement, a legend, the old nod. He was probably more worried than everyone else in the pub, thinking I was going to go screaming over, make a rugby tackle on him, but I held firm, stayed there continually to drink my Yorkshire cuppa, and then just give him the old PQ nod, letting him know, yeah, the big boss is in the house. So just when you think things can't get any better, when Chris Radlinski strolls in the pub, another rugby league legend waves me on from outside, and it's the one, the only, Jarred Bassett, the London Men's Prem champ, the Southern Conference League champ, the League One Player of the Year, Super-League player extraordinaire, locked in the number 3 shirt, playing centre, the one, the only, the Bass. Totally relaxed, looking forward to the challenge. No one was going to get a hand on him if we give him the ball to play, and I always had my money on him. Ultimate Super League legend, making his full home debut, Jarred Bassett. Fully relaxed, looking so chilled out pre the biggest game of his short career so far against the World Club Champs. Bass looked as relaxed as he's ever been, as a grin from ear to ear, and then he happened to stumble across me, which seemed to give him an even bigger grin. Made me feel proud of the lad, and I was just buzzing for him. I couldn't wait to see him step out there against the best that rugby league has to offer. Then another legend will walk past, Martin of Fire, Chariots of Fire, he would be strolling down. So all these rugby league legends knocking around Wimbledon Park obviously come down to see the Evertonian, always inspirational, pre-game, see what the whole order of play would be like. The Brotherhood would turn up, a nice easy stroll in sunshine, could have been the first tan of the year, that would see Locked and Jocked strolling with the Viking, getting us round to the Cherry Red Records Stadium, and a date with destiny as the first home game debut for the Bass would allow me to get to see the lad unleash his inner beast. And who can imagine that? Three legends of the greatest game. Chris Radlinski, super legend. Jarred Bassett, super legend. Martin of Fire, unbelievable legend. Then the first pipe goes down as the brothers start to arrive at the pub and the atmosphere starts to build. It was time for the stroll down to the stadium, the West Warriors Brotherhood leading a pathway to destiny, and the game of the weekend as we welcome the World Club Champs to the Cherry Red Records Stadium of Plough Lane at a meeting of North against South. World Club Champs against the champs of London. London Broncos, Wigan Warriors, Dave and June Ockwell, the Evertonian, always inspirational. Let's get it on. I went round to the Wigan end that was absolutely rammed with M62 Wiganers. Looked out for the legends that are Dave and June Ockwell, strolling past all these Wiganers with the Warriors cap off and the Warriors hoodie booming in blue in the sunshine, looking as good as you can. And then all of a sudden there they were, a slap bang in the middle of the stand. Went over, had a great chat with them. Unfortunately, it took them 4.5 hours to do 200 miles and 45 minutes to do the last 5 miles. Typical London traffic. Likewise for myself, took me an hour and a half to get from one side of London to the other with multiple changes, buses and footwear. So all in all, a troublesome day, but we were now set. There was only about 2 minutes to the kick-off. The voice was in fine form. It was time to raise the roof as the Bash strolled across the whitewash, eagerly anticipating the return of young Ollie Leyland, whose boots were never going to let us down today. And then it was off. That Wigan team, massive. They're big, they're strong, they're fast, they're slick. London Broncos, the new boys on the block, playing the way London Broncos do, with no fear. Throw their bodies in every single tackle. Unfortunately, we would be outdone, and this is why Wigan are the World Club champions. Like I say, they're big, they're fast, they're strong, their hands are incredible. You gift them penalties, they are going to take 25 yards, and then for the next 6 tackles, they're going to squeeze and squeeze and squeeze, get it out to their fast men, and then they're in. I know they played some youngsters, but even so, it doesn't matter who's on the pitch. They are the World Club Champs for a reason. Similar to my beloved Red V last year. Whoever they put in, they are World Club Champs. They are Super League champs for a reason, and this is why they were very dominant in this game. It's a great game to watch. Can't take that away from us. We gave as good as we got. We scored some tries, and not only that, we put up more points this week than we have in the last 3 games. And the champs must have been a little bit taken aback when they did let in the 4 tries, because no one expected us to bag 4. A lot of their other opponents haven't scored that many, so that put the wind up them. So what would you rather have, 38-0 or 60-22? The internet screaming, going, why are London even in the competition? I'll tell you why London in the competition. We won the championship fair and square. We outplayed every team in the playoffs, and all you got to do is get in the playoffs and then you're in it to win it. And if you turn over the big boys, you get a chance to play against the even bigger boys. London never disappoint, give it their all. We're in Super League, we're here for the year, we got nothing to lose. And looking at the way the table's structured already, we know that if the top boys have an off day, we're in with a shot. Wigan, unfortunately for us, just coming back off World Club Champs duty, were on fire. They were looking to put down a marker, letting everyone in the league know that, yep, we've partied, we've won the World Club Champs, but we're here to stay and we're going to go for it again this year. So for London, we've got a battle on our hands, but the way we've played in the opening games, think of the opening 4 fixtures we've had. First off, St Helens on the road was always going to be tough, and they showed us why they're one of the best teams in the comp and why I love the Red V. Second, we had Catalans at home. We got to the grand final and Challenge Cup not so long ago. Was always going to be a tough ask. Hull FC, you never know what players they're going to have. Push them to the limit. We could have won that game. Potentially, we get them on the return when they come to London. That is going to be an immense afternoon. Then we get the World Club Champs come. So the top three of Super League from last year, probably the year before, and this year thus far, have come to London, put in the performances or on the road. We've given it everything. Now we know what's expected. We're going to have some mouth-watering matchups where they're going to be Cass, Huddersfield, Hull FC. Lee Leopards are in there, but they're just going for a bad one. They're going to easily pull out of that and then could push Hull KR into the mix as well. But you never know with Hull KR because they got a good setup and they have the potential to be playoff contenders. I still fancy us to get up to 9th easy. So we've got nothing to lose this year because the way the IMG criteria is set out, we're already relegated. We've already gone for the season. So whether we win Super League, whether we win the grand final, whether we win a Challenge Cup, we're still getting relegated back unless they change the catchment area, which, as I believe, should go out as far as Hemel Hempstead, all the way around London, all the way out to Colchester, all the way down through Kent and Sussex, bringing it round, all the way round Guildford Way and everything, because that's where the heartbeat of the amateur game is. So all those clubs feed into London Broncos. So now that is our full catchment area, and that would give us enough points to keep us in Super League. We will see. Things might change. If London start delivering on the pitch, IMG might not have any alternative. So let's give them no clause, no way out, no alternative but to keep us in. If we do a double over Cass, do a double over Huddersfield, beat Hull FC, that puts us in really good shape. If we can snag a couple of wins off some of the top boys when they go on their Challenge Cup run, hey, let's turn over Warrington in Warrington. But if it's their year, then maybe not. Let's turn over Leeds Rhinos in London. We don't know what that team travels like. And then, of course, you've got your Saints, Catalan and Wigan return, which always going to be tough, but such a great day out. As the weather gets warmer, the ground is going to fill up, the booze is going to flow, the songs are going to sing. The atmosphere on Saturday was electric. Wigan were really in celebratory mood for the full 80. London fans nearly kept it going. I kept it going for the most part. And to see Bass out there plying his trade against some of the best players in Super League is just incredible. And then to see Ollie Leyland at the end slotting, and what a slot it was. He slotted this ball from probably 38 yards out on the last try that we scored. If it was last try wins, I'd still say we win. But he slotted it. Everyone's on the boy's case on the internet. He's a talent and a half. You just watch this boy play. He's doing stuff that some of the other more experienced halves couldn't even dream of. And this kick he slots just straight down the middle. Flags go up. I went nuts. Absolutely magical.
I didn't know it. I had no idea.
Game day experience. The stadium is perfectly set up for rugby league in London. Although the crowds are better than they were in the last few years, the potential this stadium has for regular numbers to be increased from 4,000-5,000 all the way up to 8,000 to 10,000 is right on the money. I am pumped and locked and jocked for this, because when you look at that stadium, it's one tier all the way round. Trailfinders was great, probably because it was close to Ealing Broadway. But when you look at this stadium, the four stands are all set up. To see the Wigan end this weekend, rammed, terrific. You look down to the left, we were in the corner in block 120. You look to the left where all the Londoners were, rammed. The only gutter was that the home side where the players and the managers dug out and the game day reporters were all sat. That wasn't as full, but when there's no Six Nations, when there's no Premiership, Championship, Division 1, Division 2 footy, the potential for more people to come down and fall in love with the greatest game, that is rugby league, is massive. Yes, it does take a bit of travel to get to, but it's well worth it. And if they can double up the games and have a more worthwhile game day experience with the Rezzies playing, even if you could tap up and get, if there's no reserve game that weekend, why not have an SCL fixture, for example, or a London Men's Premier? It would give the touring teams, their fans, chance to see what we do down here. what we do play down here. And that would be even greater exposure for the clubs, therefore leading to potential additional sponsorships for the whole league. And it's not just sponsoring the teams. We want to build up the London leagues to something spectacular that matches up with the powerhouse that is the NCL. At the moment, the SCL has 7 teams, 8 teams, which in another video I will be going over, and the pyramid that is London Rugby League. But if you look at the NCL, I believe they've got 18 to 20 teams. Well, if the future has got to be to build the SCL standards, even the London Men's Prem might have to not fall by the wayside, but be our reserve grade and potential academy of the amateur clubs, it may be. Because we've got West Warriors, the Brotherhood, have got a reserve team in there. London Chargers have. So the likes of Medway and Elmbridge, eventually, with the numbers they have, they're always going to be pushing and looking to improve. And one day, maybe not next year or the year after, but certainly in the next 5 years, there's no reason why these guys cannot be plying their trade in the SCL, because they definitely got the backup to do it with the local talent in and around their junior sections, plus lads who are coming back and want to play from university as well. And that's the other link, because the gap that you have when the kids go off at 18, they could go university up and down the country, and then there you go, you lose half your team. Anyway, I digress. So as I say, the stadium is perfectly set. Upon my arrival, my vocalistics were ready, rip-roaring, ready to roar for the Broncos of London. But I first had a meeting with my northern brethren, the Ockwells, that are David and June, who go to every single Wigan game. They always travel down south. They spent nearly 5 hours travelling 220 miles. Their last 4 miles took them 45 minutes, which is ridiculous. It took us like 45 minutes to get from Earl's Court and stop in for a pint and walk down to the Cherry Red Records. But nevertheless, their commitment is like no other. Similar to Paul and Janet Davies, who are up north. No one's going to know who they are, but the Wiganers will. Because these are the guys that keep continuing committing to their club, which Alan Elric at London Broncos is leading the charge, where he goes to as many games as he can. Unfortunately, I am unable to due to my weekly coaching, but there are opportunities and pockets of people who are willing to go through walls to support their team. And the example set by our northern brothers and sisters from the likes of St Helens, from the likes of Wigan, set that ball rolling. These guys travelled down, caught up with them pre-game, said I'll meet them at half-time, met them at half-time, had a really good chat, which you will see the picture is either here or here, it doesn't really matter, but it's an incredible picture. Last time we were stood under a tent in Trailfinders watching the game from the bar instead of watching it in the stand. This time those guys have prime time centre seats behind the sticks, but usually I believe they're on the 50-yard line getting to watch the cream of the crop. But this time, because it was such a short trip, it would be the pre-game, the half-time and the post-game before I waved them off, and their coaches, as the back gates opened, they were all the Wigan coaches ready to take all of their brothers and sisters back to the heartland in an instant, which was a gusser for me because I haven't seen my guys in such a long time, but we're definitely going to get together at some point in the next 6 months over this season. The vocalistics for the bass is always going to be there. Anytime that boy touched that ball, this voice was ripping that roof off. All of the Wigan fans knew exactly who Bass was. I was telling him in the pub, the bars, the gents, the pre-game, the post-game, the during the half-time game. They were talking about players. I'm saying, this is the one you got to watch. If he gets the ball, he will make you pay. Do not allow our half-back, Ollie Leyland, to unleash, because if you give him half a yard, he's going to split your defence in half. And if he splits the defence in half, big Jordan Williams will make you pay. And what happens? Geordie scores. Ollie converts an absolute peach of a kick from the sideline. Some people on the net, not that you should take any notice of the internet except me, but he was getting some grief on the internet. I've seen this lad play. Pressure builds his skill set and he just thrives on it. And this kick was one of those where everyone's like, oh, he's never going to get it. I'm like sitting there thinking, this is a part and parcel of it. There was no pressure on him, slotted it straight down the middle. Longest kick of the game, absolutely lit it up. Stadium went wild. And if the stadium didn't go wild, I know I did, because that was incredible. And when Geordie goes over, bish, bash, bosh, the roof is being raised. We're losing our minds. And if Bass had scored, which was unfortunate because obviously His reputation is now preceding him. The Wiganers know a good player when they see one, and they shut him down really quick. And don't forget, this was the world champions, the world club champs, taking on the Kings of London, and we scored 4 tries. Not many other teams have scored 4 tries thus far this season, but it doesn't matter. They've come back. They might have put 60 on us. Who cares? We were always on for a hiding. Everyone believed we were going to get nilled. We didn't. We kept up with them. Couple of mistakes in there. If we hold the ball off the couple of the kickoffs, bang, they don't get it back. If we rewind on some of those dodgy looking penalties, they don't get the ball back. They probably don't even get 60. They probably don't even get 50. We may even get another try. So if you look at it like 48-28. Now what a scoreline that would have been. 48-28 against the World Club chaps. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. The stadium is absolutely set up for the future. I mean, if we can keep more people back, obviously families aren't going to stay for the post-game entertainment. However, it did remind me a little bit of Quinn's RL and the King's Bar post-game. Brilliant atmosphere, lights up the room, gives the fans something to talk about. You do a few selfies, that gets even more bums on seats, because these guys and ladies go to work the next week and go, look at this, who's this? These are the top boys of London Rugby League. They're having a beer with us. All of a sudden, more people think, blimey, I don't get that union, I don't get that in footy. Let's get our asses down to southwest London and let's have a bit of this tasty game. All right, it's not as tasty as West Warriors, but they're trying to do the right thing and be bringing tasty back to the greatest game that is rugby league. And we are going to explode it on a global scale. We start off local, we go national, we go international, and before you know it, we are a global brand. The greatest game that is rugby league. What I will say about the London Broncos Wigan Warriors game was it was brilliant advert for the greatest game. Loved it. Stadium is perfectly sized for London. What you got to remember this weekend, there was 4,500 people there. There was loads of Premiership football. There was 6 Nations Rugby Union going on as well. So to get 4,000 people on a Saturday afternoon when you got 85,000 at Twickenham is massive. And everyone stayed, bought as much food and drink as they could. The club would have made a few quid. By the time I left, people were still rocking in the club bar. As the summer opens up and spring comes in and the warmer weather and there's no union, no football, is that main stand opposite where the fans are sitting at the moment, that's going to fill up easily. And then you're talking 7,000 to 8,000. That's perfect size at the moment for London Rugby League. Of course, if it calls for a 9,000-10,000, then who knows where we'll end up. But at the moment, that is a perfect stadium. One tier, you've got a view of every inch of that pitch from wherever you sit. Easy access to the bar, the food, just to relax and everything like that. You can walk around the stadium because it's not like football. Everyone's got their seat. Everyone has a good time. And then pretty much transport links are fairly decent as well. Unless it takes you an hour and a half to get from one side of London to the other. But that is London, isn't it? That is 21st century London, 21st century travel. That's how it is, and that's how it's going to be for a while. It was great to catch up with young Bill Leyland as well, who's coming back off of his ACL injury. The boy's in decent spirits considering what can only be described as an absolute gutter for missing the Super League season. I would have loved to have seen him go up against Wigan. He would have loved it this weekend. He would have taken on all comers. He knows it, I know it, Wigan will know it. All the Wigan fans knew who to look out for. I told all 3,000 Wigan fans to keep an eye out on our number 3. So that unbeknownst to him, there was a little bit of pressure on him. So every time Jarred got the ball, you could hear the Wiganers thinking, hey up, lad, here he comes. Bassett's coming. This is the one that London lad told us all about. And they managed to stop him. But Wigan's defence, as I said, was so fast, so slick, that when we did have ball in hand, it was very difficult to attack their line at pace. But when we did, and when we broke through, we were more than capable of breaking through. Just got to tighten up on a few things, and we're going to have a really good season. You know, if you knock on at the kickoff, easily fixed. If you give away silly penalties, easily fixed. So that you're talking 6 or 8 play the balls that we lose, that we don't lose going forward, and it's just going to be a terrific season. Can't wait for more games. Well done, Broncos. Keep that social media machine going and try and do some double headers in the summer, because that was a lost opportunity with the reserve game yesterday. That would have been perfectly set up for either an early or a late kickoff on Saturday. and the Wiganers would have loved it. There may have even been a few more bums on seats come down as well. So just have a think about that, because the opportunity for double headers, more money, more bums on seats, more rugby league, and you can even put that on YouTube. So if you look at the results from this weekend, you got Hull KR just lost out to Warrington, so that's going to be a tight one when we play. And Cass, obviously, like I said, got beat by Huddersfield quite substantially, so that's going to be a good game for us, those two teams. Lee Leopards had a 12-0 lead or 16-0 lead up against Leeds. Got turned over second half, game of two halves. But Lee will get that one in the return. St Helens, we slipped up against Salford. But with Mark Sneed's kicking boots this year, that boy is not missing. On to our game against Wigan, we've already discussed. And then, of course, Catalan's Hull that was on just after. Hull had nearly had a lead over Catalans, but you're playing at the Gilbert Brutus Stadium, and that's a tough place to go and play when you're struggling for points, and Catalans are pretty much playing on fire. So that then shows us the league table where, as always, we're holding up the rest of the teams. You've got Cass above us, Lee Leopards above them, Hull FC and Huddersfield Giants. So those bottom five, if Lee don't pull out of a slump, they're going to be involved in some tasty matchups against all four of those other teams. And then the top seven, of course. If we win some games, we're going to put the wind up some. And even the likes of Cass, Hull and Huddersfield have got to be looking over their shoulders thinking, blimey, if IMG change their criteria, is there a chance that we could go down instead of London? Who knows? It's all to play for. There's at least another 23 rounds. We got Warrington in the Challenge Cup. It's going to be tasty, and it's going to be an incredible season. So I can't wait for the next round of games, because that's going to be really, really good. Now, staying with the Challenge Cup, and this is a big shout out to Rugby League Marketing on Twitter, who I'll put his details on at the bottom. Now, a lot of people have been talking about the format for the Challenge Cup, and does it give enough opportunity for the amateur clubs, semi-pro clubs to make some extra cash in the early rounds by bringing in the championship teams, League Ones around earlier, and then the Super League clubs around earlier. Now, what this guy said is that round 2, League One clubs enter, which I think that would be fair enough, because you've got an opportunity to knock off the League One teams, because they're not necessarily firing on all cylinders. They're just doing their pre-season, but they're not full into it like the amateurs. Round 3, you would then bring the championship ones in, so you get the taster there. There's an opportunity for more games. Round 4, the Super League clubs will come into it, and then the option there would be the Super League clubs would have to go on the road to the lower league clubs, no exceptions, which then gives the lower league clubs an opportunity to earn a few pennies, make money at their local bar, and then show the bigger clubs this is how it's done out of the heartland areas, and the opportunity to build relationships, and then hopefully they would spot some talent as well. And then who knows, another Jarred Bassett could be on the cards. Wouldn't like to see those bringing Super League clubs and Championship clubs in at round 1, because you've got to think these guys who play rugby league for the love of it have got jobs and families to pay bills and everything. For example, St Helens come to West Warriors in round 1. The physicality of a Super League team against the amateur teams that you've just been thrown into it in round 1 is going to be too big a gap. If you've got an Alex Walmsley running over some of our boys, that is going to hurt and could potentially end up with injuries. But what you want then is, once the boys get going by round 2, 3, 4, where those big ones do come into it, then the boys are ready. They've had that game hardness. Super League teams are going to win on paper by 60 points or 70 points, but it would be a much better game than playing them in round 1. But I like what our Rugby League Marketing was saying, because that is a money spinner for all of those lower teams, especially outside the heartlands. If you can get them to a ground where they're not used to playing, they're not going to ship down 1,500 fans to come and watch it at West Warriors, although St Helens and Wigan probably would. But what an afternoon that would be. The bar would be rocking. That's got to be something for Rugby League to consider. Those early rounds are an opportunity to get more bums on seats, more viewership on the TV. The Sportsman's done a cracking job with the Challenge Cup stuff this year. Clubs are doing their own VO things as well, and if we could get even like live feeds going out on YouTube from the clubs and RFL just helping a little bit, just to get more exposure, that would be even better for the game. And then all the youngsters that are coming through ready for the summer are going, hey, I know that club, and there's an opportunity there. This kiddie's come through Medway Dragons, and now Medway Dragons first round of the Challenge Cup this year. How cool is that? Hammersmith get through to round 4. When you look at it, it would have been a big shout out, mind you, but had they turned over Halifax, they would have been matched up against York Acorn. Halifax have got Catalan Dragons. Potential for that. Look at the pathway for Halifax. Hammersmith West Warriors could have been playing Catalan Dragons at Chiswick Rugby Club or Wasps. How cool would that have been? Yeah. And if you like everything you've heard there, get in touch. Start subscribing, following. It's all over Spotify, Instagram, Facebook. Get following the greatest game and the greatest verbalizer. That is the ever-turning, always inspirational Viking and PQ's Gospel of the Oval Ball. The one and only place to follow rugby league on social media.